Partners for Peace, family members of the U.S. troops stationed abroad, thank you for inviting me to be with you this evening. We also join with those who mourn today's loss of life. And that's exactly why we are here tonight. We make our stand for peace. Tonight, the focus is not on Bush, Cheney, Powell, or Rice. It's on our troops. And in the most passionate spirit of patriotism, we say, bring the troops home now. When America's top gun, George W. Bush, first proclaimed his war on terrorism, one of the first things he did was to cut the high deployment overtime pay of the young men and women he was asking to fight on the front lines of his new war. Now, almost 2 years later, sadly, we must face the fact that the circumstances confronting our young military men and women have grown acutely worse. Not only are they underpaid, but the powerful administration that holds their fate in the cup of its hands has obfuscated, dissembled, and outright lied to them about their central mission and why they've been placed on the four corners of our globe. Interestingly, before our children were shipped overseas, they were given shots. They weren't given the option of taking or not taking these shots. They were given shots. And those who declined are being court-martialed for not taking these shots. But I wonder if this administration told our children that its vaccine supplier is the same DynCorp corporation whose employees are buying and selling little girls in Eastern Europe. DynCorp has changed its name, but it hasn't changed the behavior, and it has no business supplying vaccines to the Pentagon or to our children. Now, one of the young women being court-martialed said that she wanted to breastfeed her as yet unborn children, and she didn't want the vaccines to interfere. It's sad that the administration can't tell that young woman what the effect of these vaccines is on her and her children, but it can jail her for not taking them. And if that isn't enough, our troops in Qatar, Iraq, Uzbekistan, and elsewhere are now afflicted with a mystery illness that might well have been caused by these anthrax vaccines, according to Dr. Siever, co-author of a government study that last year found that the vaccine was, quote, possible or probable cause of pneumonia in 2 soldiers. Nearly 400,000 troops received that vaccine. One 22-year-old soldier died at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota on April 4th before she could even be deployed. One of the doctors diagnosed her as having pneumonia after she received both the anthrax and the smallpox vaccinations. And by the way, DynCorp is involved with both anthrax and smallpox vaccines for the Pentagon. Now, Rumsfeld and company can say, well, these troops had the pneumonia before they left for Iraq and all these other places, because the administration also reneged on its promise to give health screenings to the troops prior to their deployment so that we could know what was pre-existent and what was not. Having failed to pre-screen the troops before deployment, what makes us think they will treat them properly afterwards? And certainly if past treatment of our sick veterans is any indication, we need look no further than the more than 160,000 Gulf War I veterans who are still sick today. Our Vietnam veterans had to sue to get treated for Agent Orange. Our Gulf War vets are no different, having had to sue to get treated for Gulf War syndrome. In addition, this administration is big on talk, but when it has to choose between rhetoric for our troops and hard dollars for its corporate criminal friends, it chooses its friends every time. How else could Dick Cheney's Halliburton win a no-bid contract to feed our troops in Afghanistan and Iraq, and yet the food makes them sick in Afghanistan and they not have enough water to drink in Iraq? Or how is it that 1/4 of those who sleep on our streets every night are veterans of our wars? Wars that rich and powerful insiders like Bush and Cheney and Powell and Rice get to send other folks' kids to. Which brings us to another point. Those who increasingly are feeling the brunt of the decisions of this administration look like us here in this church. They don't look like the Congress or the staff at the White House or, for that matter, even the Supreme Court.